the apprentice at the magical apothecary. The bell above the door chimes softly as you step inside, though the shop closed to customers an hour ago. Evening light slants through the diamond-paned windows, turning dust motes into tiny golden sparks. The scent hits you immediately: lavender and rosemary, peppermint and sage, underlaid with something earthier, darker, dried roots and ancient woods. The smell of enchantment itself, if enchantment has a smell. Your mentor Elena looks up from the mortar she's been grinding, her silver hair catching the lamplight. She's old in a way that feels timeless rather than frail. Her hands steady despite their age, her eyes bright with knowledge accumulated over decades. She gestures towards the counter. This evening holds much to accomplish. The apothecary occupies the corner of two winding streets in the old quarter, where buildings lean companionably against each other, and cobblestones remember centuries of footsteps. 3 stories tall, narrow as a whisper, the shop has been here longer than anyone living can recall. Elena inherited it from her mentor, who inherited it from hers, stretching back through generations of wise women and cunning folk, healers and herbalists. Those who understand that power lives in growing things, in careful preparation, in patient attention. You hang your cloak on the peg by the door, watching it settle beside Elena's weathered traveling coat and a collection of canvas bags used for gathering expeditions. The shop wraps around you like a comfortable embrace. Wooden shelves climb every wall from floor to ceiling, each one crowded with bottles and jars, boxes and bundles. Glass containers in amber and green and cobalt blue hold powders and tinctures, oils and elixirs. Ceramic jars with painted labels contain dried plants, fever few for headaches, comfrey for wounds, mugwort for prophetic dreams, yarrow for fevers, elderflower for respiratory complaints. Bundles hang from the rafters, suspended in various stages of drying. Their shadows dance across the walls when lamplight catches them just right. In the back corner, a black cat named Shadow lounges in a basket near the fireplace, one eye opening to regard you before closing again. He's been Elena's companion for longer than you've been apprenticed here, though exactly how long nobody seems quite certain. Cats in mystical households have a way of being ageless. His basket sits atop a braided rug that's seen better days, the fabric worn thin in places where countless paws have trodden. Elena gestures towards a copper pot suspended over the hearth. The first task involves creating a calming draft. Autumn brings anxiety as surely as it brings fallen leaves. People feel the year turning, sense winter approaching with all its darkness and cold. They lie awake counting concerns instead of sheep, worrying about stored provisions, about illness, about the long months ahead. So you prepare remedies for restless minds and worried hearts, offering what comfort you can. You move to the work table, its surface worn smooth by countless hands over countless years, its wood soaked with spilled tinctures and ground plants until it holds its own peculiar quality. The recipe book lies open there, pages yellowed with age, the writing a mixture of Elena's neat script and older, more elaborate hands. Formulas passed down, refined, perfected over generations. Some entries date back 200 years. The ink faded to brown, the instructions written in archaic phrasing that takes concentration to parse. Elena begins gathering ingredients, moving with practiced efficiency despite her years. She knows every shelf, every jar, every container in this shop as intimately as she knows her own hands. She places a jar of chamomile before you. The flowers were dried at midsummer, when their potency peaks and the sun charges them with its strength. The tiny blooms should still hold their scent despite the months that have passed. You unscrew the lid, releasing a warm, apple-like fragrance that fills your nostrils. The white and yellow flowers lie nestled inside, brittle but still fragrant, still holding summer's promise. You nod approval. Next comes valerian root, harvested in spring, after the second year of growth. Earlier and it lacks strength. Later and it grows too woody, too fibrous to work with properly. She sets down a small wooden box, its surface carved with protective symbols. Inside, the roots lie curled like sleeping creatures, their smell pungent and earthy, faintly reminiscent of old socks. Not pleasant exactly, but powerful. You can almost feel their soporific properties emanating from the container, making your eyelids heavy just from proximity. Lavender buds, passion flower leaves, lemon balm, skullcap. Each ingredient joins the collection on the table, a small pile of botanical allies. Just a touch of mugwort completes the formula. Careful with that one. Too much and you give them vivid dreams instead of peaceful sleep, sending them on journeys through their subconscious when what they need is simple rest. Balance. Always balance. The work requires precision, respect for each plant's potency. You fetch the brass scales from their shelf, setting them carefully on the workspace. The weights are smooth from handling, each one marked with symbols rather than numbers. A crescent moon for the smallest, a full moon for the largest, stars and planets for those in between. Mystical practices speak in symbols, in correspondences, in the language of the natural world, rather than the cold calculations of mathematics. Measuring ingredients becomes a meditation. 5 parts chamomile, 3 parts lavender, 2 parts valerian, 1 part each of the others. You weigh everything with care, adjusting pinches and tiny fragments until the scales achieve perfect equilibrium, the arm hovering motionless in the air. Elena watches but doesn't interfere, trusting your learning, allowing mistakes when they happen, because errors teach what success cannot. She made her own mistakes years ago, learned her own lessons through trial and correction. The mortar is stone, gray granite worn silky with generations of grinding. It's older than the building itself, Elena once told you, brought from the old country by an ancestor whose name nobody remembers. Some say it came from a sacred mountain, quarried from rock that had absorbed centuries of prayers. The pestle fits your hand as though shaped for it, though you know 100 other hands have gripped it just the same, have performed the same task in this same way. You begin with the dried roots, crushing them first because they require the most work, the most patience. The rhythm soothes, grind, turn, grind. The stone grates against stone, a sound that seems to travel directly from your hands to your bones, resonating through your skeleton. The valerian root surrenders slowly, breaking into smaller and smaller pieces, releasing its peculiar scent more strongly as cell walls rupture. Shadow opens both eyes now, whiskers twitching. Even the cat respects valerian's potency, understands that some plants demand acknowledgement. You work through each ingredient in turn, taking your time, refusing to rush. The chamomile crumbles easily, becoming a fine yellow powder that smells of sunlight in summer meadows, of lazy afternoons and warm breezes. Lavender releases its familiar perfume, bringing with it memories of clean linens and peaceful gardens, of bees humming through purple spikes. The passion flower leaves add a subtle grassy note. The lemon balm contributes a citrus brightness. Everything combines in the mortar, colors blending into soft sage green speckled with purple and yellow, a mixture that looks almost alive in the candlelight. Elena checks your work with gentle fingers, stirring the powder to assess its texture, bringing a pinch to her nose to evaluate each scent. Very good, her expression suggests. You're learning the patience this craft requires. Alchemy happens in the waiting as much as the doing. The time between adding ingredients matters as much as the ingredients themselves. Rush, and you create something that works poorly or not at all. Patience rewards. She brings the copper pot to the table, its base still warm from the fire. Inside, water has been steeping with honey and a vanilla pod for the past hour, creating a sweet, fragrant base. The liquid glows pale gold in the lamplight, almost luminous. You add the ground mixture slowly, stirring with a wooden spoon carved from apple wood, the handle worn smooth by decades of use. The preparation darkens, turning deep amber brown. Steam rises, carrying the combined scent of all the components, something greater than the sum of its parts. Synergy, Elena calls it, when ingredients amplify each other. Elena moves the pot to the hearth's edge, where heat radiates gently without direct flame. The formula needs time to steep, to allow the water to extract every beneficial compound from the plant matter. Keep it warm, but not hot. The fire's warmth is sufficient. Enchantment doesn't respond well to impatience. Rush the process, and you rush the results. Everything requires its proper duration, its own perfect timing. The shop has grown darker whilst you've worked, evening deepening towards night. Elena lights candles with a flint, placing them around the workspace. Their flames burn steady and clear, no wavering or guttering. Even the candles here possess a quality of calm purpose, as though they understand their role in the evening's work. The light they cast is warmer somehow than ordinary candles, more golden, more welcoming. The healing salve comes next, Elena indicates, consulting the recipe book with a finger tracing down the page. You'll need the comfrey and calendula dried last month, beeswax from Thomas's hives, olive oil infused with St. John's wort, prepared at midsummer when the plant's yellow flowers were at their peak. Can you fetch them? She says. You know where everything lives. The shop's organization follows its own logic, one you've absorbed through months of apprenticeship. The comfrey and calendula occupy their jars on the middle shelf, positioned where morning light can touch them, but afternoon sun cannot fade them. The beeswax sits in a wooden box near the window, pale yellow blocks wrapped in cloth to protect them from dust. The infused oil rests in the cool cupboard, away from heat and light that might diminish its properties, stored alongside other precious preparations. Gathering ingredients feels like a meditation of its own. Each item has been grown, harvested, prepared with intention and care. Nothing here is random or careless. The comfrey leaves were picked before flowering, when their beneficial properties concentrate in the foliage rather than being diverted to reproduction. The calendula blooms were gathered at noon on sunny days, when their orange gold petals glowed brightest and their resinous properties peaked. The beeswax came from Thomas, the beekeeper who lives 3 streets over, whose bees feast on wildflowers and herb gardens, creating wax that carries the essence of summer itself. You set everything on the table. Elena produces a clean pot, smaller than the first, specially designated for salves and ointments. Nothing that touches skin should ever contact anything taken internally. Cross-contamination could cause reactions, problems, even harm. The beeswax must melt first, slowly. Add the oil once it's liquid, then the plant matter at the very end. This is a delicate balance. Too hot, and you destroy the beneficial properties. Too cool, and nothing combines properly. Feel the temperature. Don't just see it. Trust your instincts. The pot goes over the fire on a special trivet that holds it at precisely the right height. You add chunks of beeswax, watching them begin to soften at the edges, gradually liquefying. The smell is honey-sweet, carrying hints of propolis and royal jelly, of flowers visited and nectar gathered, of the 1,000 blossoms that contributed to its creation. You stir gently with a glass rod, encouraging the melting without forcing it, allowing the wax to surrender in its own time. When the wax has become completely liquid, golden and clear, you move the pot slightly away from the flame's heart. The oil goes in next, poured in a thin stream while stirring constantly. The two substances resist combining at first, separated by their different natures. Oil and wax don't want to merge, don't naturally create emulsions. But with patient stirring and gentle warmth, they begin to merge, creating something that's neither entirely wax nor entirely oil, but something new, something with properties neither possesses alone. You've already ground the comfrey leaves and calendula petals, mixing them into a green-gold powder. It sprinkles across the surface of the warm mixture, and you fold it in with careful movements, incorporating everything evenly. The salve takes on color and texture, becoming something substantial, purposeful, restorative. You can almost feel its healing properties developing as you stir. Elena has prepared a dozen small tins whilst you worked, each one clean and ready. You pour carefully, filling each container to the same level, watching the salve begin to thicken as it cools. When all the tins are full, you set them aside to solidify completely. By morning, they'll be ready, transformed from liquid to cream, ready to soothe burns and scrapes, bruises and sore muscles, all the small injuries that accumulate through daily living. Each tin represents relief for someone, somewhere. The shop smells glorious now, layered with scents of all your evening's work. The calming draft steeping near the fire, the restorative salve cooling on the counter, plus the ambient perfume of hundreds of other preparations surrounding you. Cinnamon and clove, rose and jasmine, pine and cedar, myrrh and frankincense. You feel held by these smells, wrapped in the evidence of care and craft. Shadow finally abandons his basket, stretching lengthily before padding over to wind between your ankles, purring. His warmth and solidity comfort, grounding. You reach down to stroke him, feeling the vibration of his purr travel up your arm. His fur is impossibly soft, well-groomed, despite his advancing years. He leans into your touch, clearly pleased by the attention. Elena brings out small muslin bags, each one tied with purple ribbon. One more task. Sleep sachets. Simple but powerful. Lavender and chamomile primarily, with a few other additions. These go under pillows, releasing their scent gradually through the night. The slow, subtle nature of their working makes them particularly effective. People barely notice them consciously, but their sleeping minds respond to the gentle perfume. You fill them together, working in comfortable silence. A spoonful of lavender, a pinch of chamomile, a few grains of valerian to deepen sleep's pull. Your hands develop their own rhythm, measuring and pouring, tying and stacking. The finished sachets pile up like tiny pillows themselves, each one a promise of rest, of peace, of dreams untroubled. Purple ribbons trail across the table like streams of twilight. Outside, full darkness has arrived. The shop windows reflect the interior's warm glow, turning them into mirrors that show you and Elena working, Shadow grooming himself on the counter, the shelves crowded with their mysterious contents. The world beyond those windows seems very far away, as though the shop exists slightly outside normal time and space, occupying its own particular pocket of existence where the rules are different, gentler. The draft should be ready. Elena tests the temperature of the pot near the fire, then carefully strains the liquid through muslin into a collection of dark glass bottles. The result is clear amber, glowing like captured sunlight, like liquid peace. Each bottle gets filled, stoppered, labeled with Elena's neat handwriting. Calming draft, 3 drops in warm milk before bed. She adds the date, always the date, because even mystical preparations have their proper timing, their period of greatest effectiveness. After 6 months, they begin to lose potency. You've been working for hours, you realize, though it feels like no time at all. This happens often in the Apothecary. Time behaves differently here, stretching and condensing according to the work's needs rather than the clock's demands. You feel tired in a good way, the satisfying exhaustion that comes from meaningful labor, from tasks completed with care and skill. Your muscles ache pleasantly. Your mind feels clear despite the late hour. Elena smiles, resting one hand briefly on your shoulder. Well done. You're becoming quite skilled. Your instincts are developing. Soon you'll need less guidance, more trust in your own knowledge. Perhaps in a year or two, you'll be ready to work independently, to take customers on your own when Elena needs rest. The words warm you more than the fire. Approval from Elena comes neither freely nor falsely. When she praises, she means it absolutely. She doesn't waste words on empty compliments or false encouragement. You'll clean the workspace, then call it an evening, her gesture suggests. Leave the draft bottles to settle overnight, the salve tins as well. Enchantment needs time to fully anchor itself in physical form. By morning, everything will be perfectly ready, stable, effective. Cleaning becomes the final meditation of the evening. You wipe down the work table, removing all traces of spilled powder and splashed liquid, restoring its surface to cleanliness. The mortar and pestle get washed in cold water. No soap, just gentle scrubbing that leaves them clean, but preserves the subtle seasoning they've acquired over decades. The copper pot returns to its hook by the fireplace. Everything finds its proper place, the shop's organization restored. Shadow has returned to his basket, curled into an impossibly tight ball. His purring still audible, he's become a round black shape with one ear visible. Cats know how to rest, how to surrender completely to comfort and safety. Perhaps that's part of their mystical quality, their ability to embody peace so thoroughly, so completely. Elena banks the fire, covering the coals so they'll burn low through the night, keeping the shop warm and dry. The candles get extinguished one by one, their smoke rising in thin streams before dissipating. Only the firelight remains, painting everything in shades of orange and amber, turning the shop into somewhere even more dreamlike, even more removed from ordinary reality. Elena's tells you to go home. Rest. You've done good work tonight. People will sleep better because of your efforts. They'll heal more quickly, worry less deeply. This is the true enchantment you've come to understand, not the drama of sorcery or the flash of spellcraft, but the quiet potency of plants properly prepared, of care made manifest in physical form. This is what matters. This is what endures. You gather your cloak from its peg, fastening it against the evening chill. The shop feels different now than when you entered, or perhaps you're the one who's different. More centered, more peaceful, more connected to something larger than yourself. The work does this careful attention to wellness and helping, this patient transformation of raw materials into remedies. The bell chimes again as you leave, a soft farewell. Outside, the evening air is crisp and clear, carrying the first real bite of autumn. The streets are quiet, most people already home, already preparing for their own rest. You walk slowly, in no hurry, feeling the stones beneath your feet, listening to the distant sounds of the town settling towards sleep. A dog barks somewhere. A door closes. A mother calls her child inside. You think about all the people who'll benefit from tonight's work. The anxious mother who can't shut off her worries about providing for her family. The merchant whose back aches from lifting crates and barrels all day. The child who wakes from nightmares, afraid of shadows. Each remedy you helped create will bring them some measure of relief, some easing of suffering. This knowledge sits warm in your chest, a satisfaction deeper than praise, more lasting than achievement. Enchantment, you've learnt, isn't about dominance or control. It's about service, about using knowledge for kindness, about transforming ordinary things into vehicles for wellness. The plants themselves hold the potency. Your job is simply to recognize it, to gather it respectfully, to prepare it carefully so others can access what the green world offers freely to anyone who knows how to ask, who approaches with reverence rather than greed. Your lodgings aren't far. A room above the bakery, small but comfortable, smelling perpetually of fresh bread and yeast. You climb the stairs tiredly, muscles pleasantly worn from the evening's labor. Your bed waits, blankets already turned down, ready to receive you. The room is cold, but you know it will warm once you're beneath the covers. As you prepare for sleep, washing your face in the basin, changing into your night clothes, you think about tomorrow. More remedies to prepare, more knowledge to absorb, more skills to master. The apprenticeship will last years yet. You have so much still to learn. But tonight you made calming drafts and restorative salves. Tonight you helped, in your own small way, to ease the world's suffering. Tonight you worked enchantment, the real kind, the sort that matters most. You settle beneath the covers, feeling your body relax into the mattress, feeling the tension drain from your shoulders and back. Through your window, you can see stars beginning to emerge, pinpricks of light in the darkening sky. Somewhere, in homes and hovels across the town, people are drinking Elena's remedies, applying her salves, breathing the scent of her sleep sachets. And some of those preparations you helped create. Your hands crushed those plants, stirred those pots, filled those bottles. Your care went into them. The thought accompanies you down towards sleep. a warm current pulling you gently into rest. Tomorrow you'll return to the apothecary, to the scent of dried flowers and the light through old glass, to shadows purring and Elena's patient teaching. Tomorrow you'll continue learning, growing, becoming what you're meant to be. But tonight, you simply sleep, deep and dreamless and complete. The sleep of someone who has worked with purpose, who has contributed to wellness, who has found their place in the great tapestry of helping and being helped. Outside, the stars wheel slowly across the sky. Inside, you rest, peaceful and content. And in the apothecary, the remedies settle and strengthen, preparing to fulfill their purpose, to bring ease and comfort, to work their quiet enchantment in countless lives. Good night.